So we're working with a lot of small to medium businesses as well as mid-market companies. In fact, members of my team will comb Instagram to see what's hot and what companies to connect with. And what's exciting about this is these companies are growing 3x, 5x, 10x. And they have big visions. The CEOs and founders of these companies are really awesome people to talk to because they're energized. So after a call with a customer, I may be sitting in my office working on a forecast, not too exciting, or putting together some documentation. Whereas I talk to a customer, I leave that call, I'm fired up. So we like to call on these up and coming companies because we know that that's the future.
Fantastic.
We do work with enterprise companies, some larger scale companies as well.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of our podcast, Decoding the Digital Industrial Revolution. I'm Arvind Sarin, and today we've got a guest who's got a track record of not just leading teams, but building the entire ecosystems within logistics, supply chain, and tech industries. With almost 40 years of experience, he's helped Fortune 500 companies and startups alike reach new heights, contributing to 5 successful startup exits, including 1 IPO. Currently, he's the driving force behind Transparent Fulfillment and Distribution Company that's reshaping supply chain operations across the US and Canada. Without further ado, please welcome the Chief Revenue Officer of Veyer Logistics, Craig Lewis. Craig, welcome to the show.
Arvind, thank you. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. Amazing. So glad to have you here. So Craig, let's start with, could you tell us your journey, in your own words, your story in finance and sales industry? Like, how did you end up in this industry and what initially attracted you to this field?
Sure, Arvind. It's interesting, first, getting into sales. Some folks know we start calling. I've sort of stumbled into it when in college I was bartending to pay my way through school and then wound up in a job part-time working for IBM and selling PCs, computers, and printers to small to medium businesses back in the days when PCs were brand new. Literally, it was the PC, then the PC-AT came out back when we had 1200 baud modems, and just loved it. So I've been in this business now in sales in various industries for about 40 years. And supply chain in particular is quite exciting. And this is where roughly, 6-7 years ago, I got involved, or 8 years ago, I got involved with supply chain where it's a flow problem. It's almost like an engineering problem in a sense where the economy runs on the flow of money and goods run on the flow of what a supply chain is. So I guess it's my engineering geekness combined with my sales DNA that brought me into this spot with this company.
Fantastic. Well, what does Veyer Logistics do? Can you tell us for our audience, what do you guys do?
Sure. So for 40 years, so this is actually about as long as I've been in sales, for about 40 years, a company has existed called Office Depot. And Office Depot built a massive supply chain and became a premier office products company for businesses, for consumers, for school kids. But what has happened over the course of time is e-commerce has become the way of doing business. So about 7 years ago, our new CEO, Jerry Smith, joined. John Ganforth, who's now the president of Veyer, my boss, joined the company with the intention of breaking it up into pieces and unlocking the supply chain assets to become an e-commerce fulfillment company. Now, over the course of that 7 years, through test cases and validation, about 2 years ago is when it happened. So now ODP Corp is a holdco, Fortune 500 company, broken into 3 pieces: a consumer business, Office Depot, a B2B company called Office Depot Business Solutions.
Okay.
And Veyer is a supply chain operation with all the assets, fulfillment assets to cater to the e-commerce space.
Wow, fantastic. Okay, very interesting. I like that. Thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
So then you're in the logistics piece of what was traditionally Office Depot. And yeah, we're all familiar with Office Depot. Perfect. Understood. So, as the Chief Revenue Officer of Veyer, what do you do day to day? What excites you the most about your current role, in this space?
So part of it is this is a unique opportunity, first of all, where I've been at big companies in my past, Fortune 500, Fortune 2000 companies, and then I've also been with startup companies. And there's a beauty in both sides of that. In the larger companies, you have all the experience. You're potentially a dominant force in the space. You've got a brand. Yet at a startup company, you have that velocity and that energy. It's the passion of entrepreneurship. And what makes this quite unique is we have both in the same company. We're young as a fulfillment 3PL, yet we're a 40-year-old veteran at the same time. So it's It's a very vibrant operation. What makes this company unique in this space too, it's not just the fact that we have assets. So for example, when we engage with companies, typically growth market companies, so mid-market companies with exciting brands in apparel, fitness equipment, nutrition, sporting goods. If you think of consumer goods in general, there's thousands of exciting companies making a name for themselves in these spaces. And what they need is the ability to get close to consumers, so they have a great delivery experience for consumers to drive their top line, but
True.
also manage inventory and manage cost. So you need to have a partner that has the level of assets to scale, but also make sure they have the reach across the USA and Canada to make sure they can deliver that experience. And this company, it just, to me, was a no-brainer. When Jerry and John called me to join, it was an easy decision for me.
Fantastic. So who's your typical customer that in that case? Like there may be like an apparel manufacturing company, and then they are doing pretty good, let's say, on e-commerce. Then they would contact you for what services?
So it's all about fulfillment. So these companies, they have a tremendous idea, a great product. It could be a furniture supplier.
Yeah.
We have companies that do apparel. We service Lululemon. We've done some work for also a company called Fanatics. We also do some big companies we've supported over our tenure, like a Dollar General. But most of our customers are in the space where they're making a product that you or I would buy online. And yet they work through Amazon as a sales vehicle. They work through Shopify as a sales vehicle, or pick your market, TikTok, Temu. And behind that, they get an order. They have to deliver it to a customer. We hold inventory for them. We can receive it at the docks on the coastlines or inland, take it to our facilities, keep inventory for them, and put it in the right place at the right time. And when they get an order, we're quickly able to package that order and ship it to make sure that the customer gets what they expect on time. So what our customers have found, another exciting thing about Veyer, is in the 3PL space, fulfillment in particular, the typical NPS score, NPS being Net Promoter Score, the Bain metric, NPS scores are in the 40s. So in general, customers, as in the suppliers of products that we would service, are not generally too happy with their providers. And there's a lot of horror stories that I hear every day. Our NPS score is 83.
Wow.
It really is, in our space, off the charts. And
Why do you think that's the case?
That's the right question, Arvind. First of all, it's down to people. We have average tenure in Veyer is over 12 years. And average tenure in most companies is in the maybe 6 months to 2 year window. So the people are here, they care. I walk the halls or go to one of our facilities. The pride in this company of making our customers successful is something I've rarely experienced in my career.
Wow.
That's one thing. It's the asset pools. We've got right now today 40 fulfillment centers around the country. Most companies have 1, 2, or 3. So we can optimize the network and say, all right, well, based upon your footprint of customers and where you're shipping, the right balance is to have 4 locations around the country or 6 locations. We optimize it for that customer, and periodically, monthly or quarterly, we reanalyze that. So there's a technology asset the company has too, in addition to expertise, that ensures our customers are successful over the long term. And I'll tell you one story I should tell you too, Arvind.
Tell me.
We're not perfect. We will sometimes lose business. Hopefully, I keep my job because we don't lose too much. But one of our customers told us that they have to pick another competitor of ours for the short term because of something they had that we do not have yet. We'll have it in a few months. But short term,
like temperature control or something?
But they're doing in this case, it was some technology with how they handle their particular product that we did not have yet that we're adding. It'll be in a few months, but there's peak season coming. You have to start shipping in October, but they're doing a short-term contract because they see that we can scale with them. So they want to come back to us after they pass this peak season to continue conversations.
Got it. So is there a way like that you would say no to some smaller companies? I mean, you got to have some standardized specific market because the needs of a very large Dollar General is going to be very different from, Susie making, some nice apparels in her boutique, even though the demand may go high, slowly. But are you kind of getting associated with some of those customers at very early stages, or you have a basic bar of, working at least with this type of volume?
So we're working with a lot of small to medium businesses as well as mid-market companies. In fact, members of my team will comb Instagram to see what's hot and what companies to connect with. And what's exciting about this is these companies are growing 3x, 5x, 10x, and they have big visions. The CEOs and founders of these companies are really awesome people to talk to because they're energized. So After a call with a customer, I may be sitting in my office working on a forecast, not too exciting, or putting together some documentation. Whereas I talk to a customer, I leave that call, I'm fired up. So we like to call on these up and coming companies because we know that that's the future.
Fantastic.
We do work with enterprise companies, some larger scale companies as well. I would say it's about 20% of our business.
Okay.
80% plus is in growth markets.
Got it. Got it. So you really like the growth markets. Now, what about your pricing? I know UPS is very expensive and, some of the other ones too, but I'm sure Amazon does it super efficiently for anyone who lists there. I mean, their products, I think they could ship it. It just seems like most efficiently. Where do you stand on that spectrum?
Sure. We're not competing with companies like that. UPS, in fact, is our primary partner for shipping. So what we do is we'll subcontract some work in volume to other firms that do trucking, the assets to get the product from a container on the ocean, from ocean carriers at a port, all the way through to one of our DCs, our fulfillment centers. We contract the trucking out, but we have volume where mid-market companies need a little bit of volume, but we aggregate a much larger amount, so we're very cost effective. We also then take it into our facilities or in our assets, and our expertise is the fulfillment piece. And then we have companies, in particular UPS, that we contract with for the outbound that goes to your doorstep. And while UPS, it might be expensive to some, for us, we have a very cost efficient. In fact, the rates we provide our customer, they tell us, is exceptional.
Nice, nice. Well, that's fantastic. And a lot of times that can be achieved through technology. So good segue into, how excited are you about technology and what stage you're in on your digital transformation journey? What is done electronically and using data and automated processes and AI. Tell me more where technology plays a role in achieving such amazing results.
All right, I'm smiling. I'm a techie. All right, I can't help it. I'm a techie. This is a fun topic. So there's different applications for where technology is applied. And on the first side of it is customers want to know, our customers want to be able to see what's in inventory, what's in transit, where are my goods, where's my order, and have it so we can communicate to their customers accurately of where those things are, where their goods are in motion. So we have technology for that we have. In fact, my prior company I was at before joining up with Veyer, that we're a large customer of theirs, is Project 44. So they're upper right quadrant, number one in the industry at Gartner, where they provide visibility for goods in transit and predictive ETAs. And we leverage that, and it's, in fact, we think of it as a differentiator. Now, many other companies also use it. It's also how well they use it. So we're a very large-scale user of Project 44. We also have on our back end companies like Corber, companies like Oracle, and then some proprietary technology. And we also have another company we're adding I can't tell you about yet that we're in the final throes of selecting.
So it looks like you love to try new products and there are so many amazing companies and doing so much innovation, and why not experiment with it and see if it works, in a pilot, then roll it out and leverage the technology. So you're very open to adopting new technologies is what it seems like. What I can also tell is, of course, transparency is extremely important. I'll give you a short example. As Copper Digital, our goal is to solve complex problems using technology, whatever the problem may be. And especially in this transportation, logistics, manufacturing, this space, we've been able to have a pretty good impact through creating custom solutions for our, customers. A lot of times you can get off the shelf, which may be the best solution and at times cheaper as well. But at times you have a very unique process and you need to go through and maybe use some APIs for something that's already there, but build your in-house platform with intelligence. And I think that's where we come in. But we work with Pilot Freight, they're big. So we created all their apps and functions for driver app and dispatcher app. And, they could do things quicker. We work with, Dave and Steel. That's a company in North Carolina. They're into steel fabrication. We work with Trinsight. Trinsight is, a company that sends stuff through rail. And they, built this transparency was key that we built for them, and, including mobile application plus temperature control cards and, being able to give that status. Even way back when the medical delivery is extremely important because it needs to, arrive on time, but also have, the right temperature and, the way you handle it, especially very expensive, sometimes drugs as well. So, we created some solutions for local company called, Arrive on Time. So yeah, we've got tons of that experience, and I've found that companies that are open to trying new things and new technologies and partnering and collaborating, they definitely are on the forefront of having that competitive edge, versus the other companies that, want to continue to do it the old school way. And it's funny that because you mentioned that, you're not a startup, you're a 40-year-old company, and also you have a tenure of 12 years for your employees. So that means that it's not like, there are these young guys who are just getting in the industry. Because, sometimes we see that if somebody's been in the industry for a very long time, they're set in their ways and they're like, no, I've seen this work. I don't want an extra iPad application or, this new process. So, there's some sort of skepticism that always comes in, but I see that you guys are best of both the world. You have that low attrition, and because you're able to take care of your employees, but also able to continuously embrace new technologies, and which is fantastic.
Well, also, I'm thinking about people in the company that are coming into the business and some folks that have been here before I joined, because I've been here now just about a little under a year. And there's people, the light just went off in my office, there's people that come in that have 3 to 5 years experience that bring a vibrancy and a willingness to try new things. There's no fear of failure. They just go. And they bring in new technology. And I learn from people like that every single day. They highly value that. And there's the veterans who have been here for longer than I have, not just the year, I'm saying longer on the planet than I have. And they bring a different lens. Hey, we've tried these many different things, and this is what will work and not work. And it's an amazing collaborative effort. I won't say a clash. It's different opinions that come together, and gold kind of comes out. One of the areas you mentioned it a little while ago is AI. So how do you apply AI? And part of your question was how, in a sense, we're applying AI into the company. And a lot of that is in terms of what we do in the supply chain, operate and optimize the network, for example, with AI technology. We have, in fact, an ODP Corporation, our holdco, a dedicated AI team, because we view as a corporation, ODP Corp, not just Veyer, but across all three companies,
Okay.
AI to be a differentiator, an opportunity to differentiate. So we're a founding member of something called 0100, which is focused on AI and also carbon footprint. We're also heavily invested in technology for AI, and some examples of this, I'll say I'm using it in the sales side. I've got technology on the sales side that helps us drive AI into helping us be more productive. So we've adopted tools from companies. There's Pinecone, which helps you avoid the hallucinations. You talk to ChatGPT, which is great. Ask it a question, it'll come back with things like a human would. It'll make things up. It's hallucinations. Pinecone solves that for us. I've got a company called Seam AI, helping us run a knowledge base of data on what companies to target. In fact, Seam AI and Pinecone work well together to help make that happen. We've got Gong. We just acquired Gong software, which is able to do things like we're doing today, right now, transcribe our conversation, give an intelligent output that we can leverage that's not just a list of things that we're saying with colons in front of our names or after our names. It's intelligent. It's just amazing what it can do. And
Fantastic.
I'm thinking anybody who doesn't use AI now, Arvind, you know this, right? If you don't use AI now and adopt it and leverage it, it's going to be a weakness. You will fall behind.
Absolutely. For transcripts and all, Otter AI is also pretty cool. And
Yep.
I mean, there are so many different tools that continue to come, and, we build some of them, and, we launch some of the products as well. Like, we have something called realcraft.ai that allows you, from a simple idea, you just give that in the prompt and it creates an entire animated video for you on that prompt.
That's pretty cool.
And it's just so fascinating, because you couldn't have thought of it like a couple of years ago. It'd be like, oh my God, no, that's not possible. And it all happens within a few minutes. But even on the enterprise side, imagine this. We work with a nationwide HVAC company, like repair and stuff. So they get a bunch of calls if, someone's AC goes down or some other utility problem. and they struggle with forecasting how many people are we going to need, how many technicians do we need, and they're like, we've got all this data, and we put together a dashboard for them, and there are multiple parameters, including the weather data, and we were able to forecast by training the model how many calls they're going to get that particular day, and they're like, wow, we love it. So I mean, it's just so amazing, and I feel like a lot of these tools, are available for specific industries, and I think eventually, even Sally in her donut shop would be able to use AI to know, hey, on Thursdays, you know what, these chocolate chip donuts go through the roof. I better create more of these, and it's all about data. And if you could do that, another way I'm seeing a lot is in computer vision, where you could have cameras, and those cameras can be analyzing from foot traffic to your delivery and so many other things, even in manufacturing. It's just mind-boggling, the kinds of applications. I think our world is going to change forever. So very excited.
You remind me is a friend of mine. His name is Sudarshan Tatai. He's the CTO at Lineage Logistics, Lineage Lineage Logistics. They're the world leader in refrigerated supply chain. They went public recently, in fact, and hearing him talk about the things that he's done inside the company to apply AI in refrigeration. And I said, how do you do that? Where does that apply? And it's just amazing how it helps them differentiate as a company and become the Goliath they've become.
Yeah. Well, let's switch gears a little bit. I mean, still within AI, but what about the advancements in predictive and prescriptive analytics? How do you see technologies, transforming logistics and supply chain management from that aspect?
So within sales, I can tell you that everybody who has the title CRO has to be adopting it just to run their business. So you think about how in the sales process, there's sales stages. So something is early stage, it's maybe in discovery, then it goes to a solutioning, and there's business aspects of it. Pick any company, they'll have their sales process. And a lot of it is very similar. But how do you analyze how long does something take to go from step A to step B or stage A to stage B? Is it something that we can improve upon? And analytics helps us solve for that. So that's CRM analytics. And we have a team also in the company that's focused on nothing else but analytics that we tap into. It's a shared resource in the holdco that I get some shared time with. So it's pretty powerful just on the sales side. Now, on the business side and the operational side in supply chain, it's a whole new world. In fact, I have to admit, Arvind, I'm less tuned to knowing what they're actually doing with it to give you an intelligent answer, being on the sales side. But I know they have teams of people that do nothing else but figure out how to leverage that data to improve the operation. The one thing I do know is, and this company is exceptional at, is how we look at mapping out the supply chain and make it very efficient for the e-commerce space. So the network was built with that in mind. And they keep on refining it, adding space and changing what each building does sometimes to optimize it over time as well. And that's all about analytics and data.
Nice. Yeah, no, we work with a lot of the companies in logistics as well. And that's what we hear, that it's not just route planning, it's not just, space optimization, but, a lot of predictive maintenance on the trucks and vehicles as well. But in sales too, I think, of course, we have a very similar 5-step process, begins with an introduction meeting, goes to the requirement gathering, and then we have a proposal, and then goes to pricing and contract negotiation. And yes, to be able to predict that funnel and know that, well, we need to be talking to 1,500 people, and then we're going to get our set of, customers down the pipeline is very important, because we've got data. We've been around for 14 years, so we've got tons of data for sure. Okay, well, in your opinion, what are the biggest misconceptions about digital transformation in the logistics industry? Because, there is some stigma associated as well, and it's an overused word at times, I would say, digital transformation. But according to you, what are some of the biggest misconceptions?
There's really one that comes to mind. Actually, it's people think that if I just buy technology and drop it in, I'm transformed. And that's really the beginning. And you could even go so far as to buy something, pay to have it installed and deployed and link it to your other systems. And then afterwards, it's just not getting used and things die. And I've seen people and companies acquire technology and then they don't renew. It just dies of its own accord. So it's got to be something that you make the right decision, and stick-to-itiveness is the most significant issue, and having people that are champions to make it happen. We've got in this company, there's a dedicated transformation team we have in Veyer, and all they do is nothing else but figure out ways to transform the business, to drive out cost, and to improve customer experience. It's all they do.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
These are the brainiest people I think the company has, and the focus is, okay, what technology will help make this work? And they were very rigorous in making those decisions. And then when they do it and they bring it on board, we're 100% in. I think that's the biggest one is actually driving.
Yeah. So misconception is that just not buying the technology, but having somebody take ownership of those processes, and just seeing there and tweaking it and iterating on it, and just taking that ownership to make things happen, and be very smart, analytical, see what needs to be eliminated from within the process if you can get the same outcomes, or automated, or whatever way you can aid some information. I think I think that's very, very important. So you've led teams both in Fortune 500 companies and startups, and you kind of mentioned that at the beginning. But what are the key differences in driving growth in these environments, and how do you adapt your leadership style accordingly?
I think I answer the question a few different ways. The most important thing is the people you bring on board. It's I have the luxury here in this company. I've hired members of my team, the salespeople, marketing people, sales operations people, and they teach me things every day. They're smarter than me, and I revel in that. I would just revel in that. So I bring people on. We're building a company. So they're all, as I tell them, have hands on the wheel. So no matter where you are, if you're in a Fortune 500 company or a startup company, it's about who you hire, how you empower them and help them be successful. It seems so obvious, but I could guarantee you that 9 or 10 times people don't do that.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, Arvind?
No, I was saying we have a saying as well, especially for smaller companies. You got to hire people that are smarter than you. Our Wheelcraft is the one that I was talking about, where you give some text and it creates that AI generated animated video. I mean, that's literally a handful of people, like less than half a dozen, but we only want to hire people that are way smarter than us. I mean, we don't want to be, just because that learning cycle otherwise increases. So it's especially true for a lot of the startups. Okay, got it. So there's a difference in that leadership style in Fortune 500 companies.
Yeah, let me add that to you, because you asked a question also about, is it different between a large company, a Fortune 500, and a startup company? The people component of it translates across anything. It doesn't matter. You hire people smarter than yourself, empower them. My job, my people, I work for them more than they work for me, right? They work for themselves, really, in the end of the day. At the same time, a Fortune 500 company, it tends to, over time, it develops more and more process, more ways. You solve problems, and eventually you have a pile of Band-Aids. So whereas at a startup company, you're starting from a flat green slate. So when you look at a Fortune 500 company, it's how do you drive transformation and have people see that you don't need to have that anymore. Reinvent yourself.
Yes.
Companies, everybody talks about Amazon, but there are plenty of companies that they eat themselves. They don't wait for it to get disrupted by a third party. And there's plenty of examples of companies that did just that. So how do you blend it with a Fortune 500, respect what people have done and why they did it, help them open up and see different ways to do it, to transform. And whereas at a startup company, starting from scratch, it's about now bringing in new ideas and channeling that, right? This can't be shiny object syndrome. Like, let's try this, and 3 months goes by. Well, that didn't work. Well, maybe it will work. Give it 3 more months. Let's stick with what we decided to do.
Unless you have very clear evidence staring at you, and that's different. But even if you fail, you got to have that learning. So I think in the larger companies as well, what we've seen is mindset is this extremely important. It's not just about technology. That's not digital transformation. It's the mindset. It's just, embracing new ideas. And I like the point you made about, eventually then there are a lot of the processes that you have for, larger companies and the Fortune 500 companies. And I think it's very different in the startup. So no, I agree with you there. And I think you have to adapt your leadership style accordingly in those two scenarios. Well, what do you believe are the most important qualities for leaders to possess when managing rapid growth and change in technology, and that's happening now. Like, how are good leaders coping with this, especially in the logistics sector?
Part of your question, that is the general question. Like, what do leaders need to do to drive energy in a team?
In this environment.
Here's the word I think of, Arvind. The first word coming to mind for me is energy. So if you're a leader and you're not going to work in the morning and you have that energy, you're just going through the motions, or you're just, to call it, taking tasks, get things done. Here's my to-do list, go do it. It's not going to work. People want to be energized. I'm a big football fan, and the coaches I see on the sidelines, I see coaches. I think of the guy coaching the Lions, took a team that was nobody, and look at them now. And that coach is fired up. The team, therefore, gets fired up. You lead from the front. That's the biggest, I'll call it, thematic thing that makes somebody successful as a leader, is energy and passion to lead from the front.
Got it. Lead. Yeah, we have a saying here too, lead by example. Like, it's like giving some action items to you as well, and taking initiative and saying, okay, well, this is what we've decided. And you take the toughest thing and say, well, I'm going to do this. And then everybody says, no, I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to sponsor this. It's like, that just becomes contagious, and it's super fantastic. So yeah, being like a servant leader and not just, going out and delegating everything, but asking them, hey, what do you guys think is, your strong point? And that's fantastic. Well, and that's a good segue into our final question. Like, what advice would you give to upcoming leaders in supply chain industry, in logistics industry, who aspire to drive digital transformation and growth? Like, what would be your advice to them?
It just struck me as you're asking that question. There's a company that we're soon to call a customer. I'm pretty excited about this one.
Okay.
They make furniture. It's a brand that they make furniture for consumers like you and me. Really nice stuff. And the founder, I was talking with him about the things that he does as a founder of the company. And he talks about how in the morning he gets out of bed extra early for some fitness reasons. And he gets primed for the day, for his passion. And he focuses on every morning, what am I here for? Why am I here? Now, what I do, I took some of those ideas and I wrote down, so every morning I'll read some things about what I'm here for on this planet, with my family, with my company, what's my purpose.
Beautiful.
I read it every day, like religion, every day.
Beautiful.
And if I read it, I feel like now I'm more tuned in for the day. So work out, read that, go. And then end of the day, what he does, another idea he gave me, was he captures some of his learnings from the day, like recap it and write it down. That this day, what did I learn? Good, bad, or indifferent? And captures it too. And it forces a thought process. So I just had to share that because
I love it.
Founders, pretty innovative, pretty forward thinker. So I love those ideas.
I think the audience is going to find so much value in that as well. And it looks like you're saying that while that person does it, you do it too. And, I want to say me too. Like, I'm here before the sunlight every single day, first one in the office, even any office across the globe that we go to where, even if there are hundreds of people, like, I'm the first one. It's just not to show or anything, but I just cannot not be there because I'm so excited to, just go to the office and start my day. So, I'm here before 6 o'clock. And then, I stay until we need to get work done. And my last meeting every day at 5 o'clock is with my coach every single day.
Yeah. Okay, that's good.
To give my report card. And now I haven't been doing it for like forever, but I think there are times when I feel like it's getting a little bit more overwhelming, or I'm spread too thin. And then one other thing that I do that helps me a lot, that changed my life, is meditation. So every day, 2 hours of meditation, just, looking inwards, it is life-changing. And, the best thing that happened to me ever.
Yeah. The
11 years.
Same founder that I mentioned before, he does that too. He does some meditation.
Is that right?
I'm not adopted that yet. I haven't got my head around doing that effectively. I go 10 minutes and I start thinking, what am I going to do next? But I'll get back to your other part of your question, though, about big startup companies, what to focus on. There are so many companies that they just build something and they try and espouse it. Hey, I've got something exciting here, but it doesn't solve a problem. If you're not solving a problem, and I'll quote, there's a guy named John Kaplan of a company called Force Management, sales training company. Amazing company, by the way. I still use their approach and their technology. Are you solving their problem? And if you're talking about how to solve the problem, not about what you do and who you are, it's going to go nowhere. So you want to found a company and make it successful, solve a problem.
Absolutely. I went to UT to get my MBA, And this is way back when, 16 years ago, I graduated. But we had a course called Capstone. And in that Capstone course, you form a team and then you work on an idea. And in the end, you give the presentation, and it has a lot of those, like he wrote the book called If You Build It, They Will Come. Okay. So it's like, no, you got to do the market validation. One whole semester, it was all about talking to the potential people that may have a problem. So, it totally resonates. And I think there are too many companies that, are not able to like hone in on a particular problem that they want to solve, but instead say that, oh, this technology I really love. So why don't I do something with this technology? No, focus on the problem. Doesn't matter if there is technology or not, or, if there is, that's great. And of course, every business today has to have, technology and AI. It's like, how in the past you would say, oh, do I need to get a website? So yeah, similarly, do I need to, like, AI is that ubiquitous, or it's going to be that ubiquitous. There is no business that does not need or can leverage the power of AI. And I think one last thing before, we try to conclude here. I also heard you said that some of the larger companies have to at times eat themselves so that they can innovate and try new things. Like they have to shut down their working businesses, things that they have invested in, and, forget some of the old ways, even if that may be profitable, because they know that moving forward, the growth is going to happen when they do it a different way. I mean, and that's what led to the downfall of a lot of the companies, including, you can argue about Nokia, because they were like, oh, or BlackBerry. They were like, no, we know for sure that this is the thing that the users like, having that full keyboard. So something like, a full screen, just touch interface is never going to work. And, too bad.
I gotta say, I did like the Blackberries. I'm an iPhone guy now.
Oh, me too. I love the Blackberries, but then again, they're no more. So
yeah. It's funny how one of the things that startup companies often do is they invent themselves to do something, and then a year or two goes by and they reinvent themselves because there's no baggage, there's no ego owning how they're doing what they're doing. You reapply your skill set and learn. And yet, even at like in my company, we try some things. Then they don't work. My lights are going again. We try something, it doesn't work. So, okay, let's pivot, let's move. Like my boss, John, says, hey, we can't let grass grow under our feet. We have to be agile and go fast. So don't let your own ego or decision you made 2 months ago get in the way of doing what's right now. Just go.
Absolutely. Wow. Lovely. Words of wisdom. Well, thank you. And as we wrap up today's episode of Decoding the Digital Industrial Revolution, I want to thank you, Craig, for sharing such valuable insights into evolving the world of logistics and supply chain management. If there's one takeaway from today's conversation, it's that embracing transparency in technology can unlock incredible growth opportunities, not just for companies like Veyer, but also industry-wide across the board. Thank you for tuning in. And remember, the future of industrial revolution is happening now. Those who innovate today are the leaders of tomorrow. Stay curious, stay forward thinking, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.